Everybody, thank you very much for coming back to the PigSty tonight. Tonight we have the Free Thought Prophet, even though there's two of them. But we have we have Seamus and we have John, and surprisingly enough, the Irish named one isn't the one from Ireland. We are also lucky enough tonight to have Momma Atheist. She's going to give me a hand with a wee bit of co-hosting tonight. So, boys, if you want to, Seamus, I think you're the main man. So, if you want to just, what brought you onto the internet and what started the channel?
I'm not the main man by any means, but I did start the show. That's the only that's the only step I have over John. So, man, if I can make this a super long story short,
not too short. Give us the NDE story, Seamus. That's really fantastic, I think.
It all started on a stormy night. I used to be a law enforcement officer, and I got hurt in the line of duty. It was in a bad accident. Was in a hospital, and mind you, I should start from the beginning, at least to the point that I was very much a right-wing, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, Fox News, fundamentalist jackass, right? So I go in the hospital. They put me on it's on it's kind of an IV drip, right? But it's a processed through a machine that has the pain medicine in it.
Yeah.
Over the night sometime, the machine malfunctions, and all of the wonderful medicine gravity feeds directly into me. Basically causes an overdose. So I died. During my little escapade, didn't feel the presence of God, didn't see no light at the end of the tunnel, didn't see no, red guy with the pitchfork, beckoned me to come over to the flames, none of that.
Yeah.
It was just basically, terror, and to know, I was aware that I was gone, and just, fear of never seeing my daughter again was the biggest thing that, I still feel that when I start thinking on it. The only thing I did see sort of was, if you imagine like two geometric planes, if you will, like meeting, sort of like what's on the shirt, meeting in a horizon. But it was all gray. It was there wasn't any color. You know what I mean? It was like gray and white, but it just like went on forever. Like, have you ever seen those GIFs that just like, it's like a loop? It's a constant loop.
Fractals,
right?
Mathematical fractals.
Yeah. It was very, very much like that, and it was absolutely terrifying. When I came out of it, and they told me I died and all that happy stuff, I was like, it really shook everything in me, my core, right? The fact that I was gone and there was no God. No, God wasn't there to comfort me. Jesus didn't come along. None of that shit, right? So it set me on. That was kind of the catalyst for me to find my way out. Eventually, what did it was getting myself to be objective and actually read the Bible was the last straw. And that's when I was like, oh, this is bullshit. This is nothing. I can't believe, and then you go through I can't believe I, believed in this shit and all that, right? We've all been there. Well, a lot of us has. Yeah. So, again, still a cop, still an asshole, right? I started having my little anger phase as far as atheist goes, right? So I'm starting to publish memes and stuff, fuck God, fuck all this, 'cause, I'm angry, I'm pissed. I've been through, all these years, and I've sacrificed this for nothing, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, well, the gratuitous anti-theist phase that we all go through.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So my sheriff calls me in, which me and him had already not got along, and basically told me that I couldn't do this. I was, basically I had to stop doing that, or he was going to take action against me. Well, so I created just kind of like anonymous page called the Free Thought Prophet. Actually, what somebody asked me this other day was why the name. Well, the first reason of the name was because of the George Carlin saying there's no prophets, or no atheist or a nonprofit organization. So I thought, that'd be cool. And then, of course, the nonprofits were taken. So, Free Thought Prophet. Basically, it was just an idea to basically give me an outlet, right? Put up memes and shit. But eventually, again, the process of becoming an atheist, you get on YouTube, you listen to podcasts and all that great stuff, Hitchens and all that. And then I was like, man, I want to do something like this too. And so I started the podcast. And I don't know, it was like 3-4 episodes in. I was like, I enjoy this, but I don't feel as if I could continue by myself. I need somebody else there to help me, be the sounding board, all that, all those good things that you need with working with somebody, because doing this alone just didn't feel right. And I had already reached out to Ireland because I'm thinking, hey, it's the Pope's summer home, right? There's got to be some sort of resistance against against everything. So I found Atheist Ireland, and they put me in touch with John. John was nice enough to come on the show as a guest, and I mean, literally, we call each other brothers because it was like, I've known this guy all my life, kind of feeling when we start talking, hit it right off. And as soon as it was over, I think it was like within an hour, I'm messaging him. I was like, hey, please come on the show, be part of this from now on, because, I want to co-host and I want it to be you. And he was nice enough to agree, and pretty much here we are.
I think it's the Irish charm. It must be the Irish charm.
I was hoping he was going to say it was the eye candy, but unfortunately not.
No, we don't have that in Ireland. We have good charm and thick livers.
Well, see, I'd never seen you, John, and whenever I Googled John Hamill, the other John Hamill come up, and I was like, well, that'll
That's
work.
what I mean. In case anyone's not familiar with what Seamus is describing, if you go on to IMDb and look up John Hamill, you'll see the other John Hamill. And unfortunately, I'm not eye candy like he is. He's a very talented boy.
You should say. Right? I think he's passed on, hasn't he?
Yes, and for those listening on audio or whatever, he was a gay porn star, and I very much wish I looked like him, but unfortunately not.
And yourself, John, were you thinking of doing something like this, or whenever he reached out to you, did you have a podcast or anything before?
No, nothing like that. At the time, I was an officer in Atheist Ireland. So there's a few things that we used to do in Atheist Ireland. Most time we spent lobbying politicians. So, you go off to meet the Minister for Education or the Taoiseach or whoever it happens to be. Yeah. Most often officials, and you're campaigning and making submissions to try and change specific laws. We also do some debates. So typically university debating societies will have a motion like, is God moral or something like that, and they'll look for some mouthy heathen like me to come along, and I'm happy to do that. And the other thing we sometimes did was to use the Equal Status Act, which has a provision in it about religious discrimination. So we used to take some legal cases. So around about the time, Robbie, if I'm honest, I was feeling very lazy. Based in Monaghan, and it's about 2 hours into Dublin, where I used to go for all the Atheist Ireland meetings, and I couldn't be arsed. So I'm no longer a member of Atheist Ireland, but I do some of the same things under the Free Thought Profit heading now. We do some of the same debates and take some of the same cases. So we've taken a case litigating for equality with the Pope in the context of the Pope's last visit to Ireland. We litigated against the Lord Mayor of Dublin and a few others. So those are all fun. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. And I self-litigate, so very often, or actually, I think, Seamus, it's fair to say, 100% of the time, I lose these cases on some legal technicality that I don't understand. But the principle, Robbie, is the Irish state. It really was from formation a Roman Catholic country.
Yes.
In its laws, and extremely discriminatory. And it's not that country anymore. It's a very pluralist country now. We've had 3 referenda in a row on abortion, gay marriage, and blasphemy. And the religious side were beaten 2-1 in each vote. So it's just not that country anymore. But unfortunately, it has all the same laws. So we and some of the laws are really, really deeply stupid, and some parts of the Constitution are deeply stupid. So I mean, you have to swear an oath to a Christian God to be a judge. I can't be a judge in Ireland. I can't be president. I can't be prime minister. And some of those laws and constitutional provisions, we take cases around. And what it does is it gets the state to write down their position, and they end up saying really fucking stupid things. And if I can't win a case in the courthouse where I go and argue and pretend to be a lawyer, and it looks more like my cousin Vinny, but you know, you do your best. But at least you get the other side to write down what it is they're arguing, and very often it's really very fucking stupid. And then we'll do a bunch of episodes and blog posts and publish all the documents, and we get lots and lots of what the fuck type reactions from people. Why, like, you know, most recently we tried to register the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster as a religion in Ireland.
How'd that go?
We got the Registrar General to, broadly speaking, firstly, just tells you to fuck off, in not so many words. And then you have to appeal higher up to what's called the Civil Registration Service, and you do that. And then the Registrar General of all Ireland tells you to fuck off, and that's okay. And then the next stage in the legislation is you have to appeal to a cabinet minister. So we went off and did that, and you go through this appeal process. And once it's an appeal process, then the Registrar General has to write down reasons. These are the reasons why I've told this man to fuck off. So what he said was, the reason it's not a religion is because he himself, this is not in legislation anywhere, nobody has given him this power.
His opinion.
He has just assigned unto himself the role of differentiating between what he called positive and negative religious beliefs. And what he decided was that my religious beliefs, or my beliefs about religion, I should say, and he also quoted witchcraft and the Satanic Temple, and he described those as negative beliefs. And he said Catholicism was a positive belief. So if anyone wants to go and look up the tenets of the Satanic Temple, they're all entirely moral and ethical.
There's 7 or 9 of them or something, isn't it?
That's right. Whereas Catholicism teaches discrimination against women and gay people, but somehow this dude has decided that the one is positive and the other is negative. But even just the very principle of the matter, I mean, the Civil Registration Service, you know Ireland, Robbie, the Civil Registration Service is in Boyle, County Roscommon, which is where, is it Chris O'Dwyer? Is that the actor? I think it's Chris O'Dwyer.
Oh, I couldn't
That's
tell
where
you.
he's from anyway. But it's a rural part of of Ireland in County Roscommon. And they have 3 or 4 civil servants there sitting around deciding essentially which religious beliefs are valid and which aren't. And you think, you know, like, since the ancient Greeks, the greatest philosophical minds that humanity has produced has been wondering about which gods exist and which don't. And the response of the Irish state is to say, that's easy. We'll just get 3 civil servants in County Roscommon and they'll sort it all out. And it's completely fucking mental. But at least we'll kind of work through the process and we litigate the cases. And at least it forces them, when they have to make a legal submission, they have to write it all down on headed paper and sign on the bottom and send it to us. And at least we get them to record what their bullshit decisions are, and then we can laugh at them.
The turnout for the LGBT when the law was changed and that was massive. Like, you could even see students coming back from England, coming back from overseas, coming back everywhere. It was massive. It was really good to see that turnout. Like,
yeah, and I thought, I don't know if you think this as well, because I know it changed in the north recently as well, Robbie.
Yeah.
I thought abortion would be the big one, like because the abortion case is, it's easy to make emotive arguments on the anti-choice side, and they got a bunch of money from America, and yeah, I right up until the day of the vote, we were on out knocking on doors and handing out leaflets and campaigning, and I just didn't know what way it would go. I was kind of surprised it was that big a vote.
Yeah, no.
My wife went out. My wife went on the canvas for the very first time for the repeal the Eighth Amendment, which used to be our anti-abortion provision in the Irish Constitution. And literally, she was she had the badge on and the overall, and she was handing out the leaflets, and she was literally there 5 minutes, and someone came up and told her to fuck off and called her a murderer.
Well, I know you said that Seamus is in the northest part, the most northern part of the south, and with Momma, who's in Georgia, she's smack dab in the middle of it. What the abortion laws over there, do you have a choice in America, Seamus? Is it in your state?
Honestly, it hasn't been a huge topic up this way. Again, it's a weird part of the country I live in. It's kind of we identify more with like the Western PA kind of crowd, at least most of this county. Yeah, like towards Pittsburgh. Yeah. So as far as the attitudes go, but as far as like availability and stuff, I mean, I believe there's only one clinic in the state that's available. I mean, and I know that's the norm for a lot of states, especially through the Bible Belt and shit, because they realized they couldn't overturn the law, so they're just going to make it harder for people to get abortions, which makes perfect fucking sense, right? Let's punish women and their their health needs. Because you think that the Bible says otherwise. Fuck off. So the Pennsylvania. I mean, no offense. While it is in the north, technically, it really is part of the South. There's a lot of back-ass words. Oh yeah.
It's not my favorite place in the world. No offense.
No, I'm actually in West Virginia, but I'm at the very top.
Wait, you're in West Virginia?
Yes, I'm at the very top of West Virginia. 5 minutes. Yeah, enough said, right? 5 minutes one way, I'm in PA. The other 5 minutes, I'm in Ohio. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Ohio is another one that's
above the Mason-Dixon line, Seamus.
Just above, yeah, that's right. Above seawater in some ways.
I guess we explained.
Ohio's had some pretty fucked up new laws and shit lately.
Yes.
Do you remember when the governor was trying to pass the whole thing where if a woman has an ectopic pregnancy, he wanted to have it reimplanted, which is not only impossible but deadly.
Was that Kasich that was pushing it? Or yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was jealous of the shit going on in Indiana, and I think he always kind of modeled some of his laws after that. Kind of like, well, you're not the most Christian state, we must be.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that shit.
I remember numerous times in the past year, because my neighbor is from Ohio, and just walking over him and going, what the fuck is happening in Ohio right now? Seriously.
Yeah, I know. Ohio always gets kind of a pass of being like this Midwestern state. It's not part of the South. I'm like, yeah, there's more rednecks in Ohio than there is in West Virginia. I'm sorry, there just is.
Yeah.
Okay, at least as far as I've seen. So at least in this part of West Virginia, I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So
where you are now, John, do you get many fundamentalists relative to what would be, an American fundamentalist? We would get, obviously, yourself from being in the North, it's more cultural than it is actual, let's go to church.
Yes. So the answer is yes, Robbie, and so I have to qualify what I'm going to say now, because it sounds like I'm going to be critical of Protestants and complimentary to Catholics, but
nobody cares here, man. Nobody cares.
So I think most Catholics in the South, exactly as you say, are cultural Catholics. The referenda show that they don't really believe in what the Catholic Catechism says in terms of the teaching of the Church. Whereas there are a reasonable number of Free Presbyterians in the area where I am, and you would know, Robbie, that Free Presbyterians take their faith very seriously.
Very, very seriously. We call them Bible bashers.
But I have to say, I have more respect for the people who take it seriously. Firstly, the cultural choice, when people take the Catholic box in Ireland, they're really not saying, I believe in the teachings of Catholicism. Mostly what they're saying is, all them Brits are Protestants, and I'm not one of them.
Yeah,
that's really what they're saying, and it's incredibly annoying because the census is used for planning schools and things like that, and you look around and 90% of the primary schools in Ireland are Roman Catholic, and the reason is people keep taking the fucking Catholic box in the census, and they're not Catholic. Whereas I think I have more respect for people who take the faith seriously than the Catholics who just tick the box without thinking. And also, there's this kind of liberal Catholic who really rubs me up the wrong way, rather than the more fundamentalists. I don't know if you know Father James Martin on Twitter. He's got an absolutely enormous Twitter following.
No, I'm not. I'm just starting on Twitter.
So he's really far left, which is fine. I suspect I would agree with most of his kind of progressive politics, but he tweets all of this stuff about, discrimination against gay people and how awful it is, and about gender equality and stuff. And I think, I agree with all of that, but dude, you're a Catholic priest. How many women Catholic priests do you know? I bet the answer is 0, and that's not an accident. And just the other day, he was tweeting this big diatribe. So you folks in the States have a bunch of preachers who want to go ahead with the church services, and there was that lady, I'm going to church, don't worry about the virus, I'm covered in the blood of Jesus, or something like that. That video did the rounds on Twitter. So he was giving off about that and criticizing all of these Christians for being anti-science. How can you be a Christian and anti-science when science comes from God? And I think, dude, you do exorcisms. You say prayers to patron saints. Like, you not only tell us who's in heaven, but you apparently know what the responsibilities of each person in heaven are, and who to say the prayers to get the right intercession here on earth. And then you're giving off to people about not respecting science and stuff. So I have to say, I very often respect the fundamentalists a bit more. Their views are often abhorrent, but
have you ever heard of Willie Fraser? No.
Yeah, I do. Good singer, Robbie. Good singer.
No. The one from Armagh, South Armagh. No.
Aye, he's a good singer. He's got a few albums out.
Oh my goodness, no. That's the Protestant side of the pushing it forward, and fundamentalists. Let's not go down that route.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I don't. I'm not really.
Sing as well. Exotic, though. That's the question.
Oh goodness.
Well, I know Momma. She was actually an American Catholic. If that can be a thing, now, you know.
Well, yeah, I was raised Catholic. I'm actually from New England, not Georgia. You could tell by my lack of drawl. My mother's side of the family is from Boston Irish.
Nice.
Yeah, my uncle is a Monsignor in the Catholic Church.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so big deal in my family, on that side. So.
Okay, can I ask what the route out of that looked like? What age were you, or was it a long, slow process, or did you have one of those light bulb above the head moments?
I don't think I ever really believed, to be honest with you. There is a story behind it, but on the day I was confirmed was the day I was like, yeah, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in it. So, more or less.
Yeah, I've 4 kids, and my eldest was confirmed, and she's very pious. So I just let them make their own minds up. I don't kind of push them one way or the other. But the second one was due to be confirmed. I think he should be confirmed already, but he's not because of the whole virus thing.
Oh, the COVID.
But yeah, he didn't give a fuck. So he picked Luigi as his confirmation name, and the reason is that there was no Saint Mario.
So you obviously don't tick the Catholic box then when the census comes around.
That's right.
I have a 16-year-old, and I never taught him, or I never told him I was an atheist when he was little. I let him decide for himself what he was going to be. So
very good.
I don't. On either side of the coin, I don't believe in indoctrinating your children into whether it be faith or lack thereof. So.
Here. Quite agree.
And had he chosen to believe in God, I would have supported him. So.
Yep, I think that's exactly the best way. I sometimes think back of the way teachers pushed me into religious stuff against my will and really resent it. So the last thing I want is for my kids to be in their 20s and resent me pushing them in any direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Seamus, you obviously have an Irish name. Is there Irish descendancy in your background as well?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Is that one of the reasons why you reached out to
a bit of
Ireland?
A cold here over here. So, yes. No, it's not the Rona, so we're okay.
The Rona.
Yeah. So, although it's a little bit of an argument between me and my mom, she's a so-called genealogist, and that's an argument there. But as to where the family tree, intersects and descends and all that shit. Her family is like half Irish and half Scottish, but everything I've looked at for my father's side is just all Irish, and I think is it Armagh or Antrim? What did I?
It's
what county was it,
Armagh
John?
and Antrim.
Yes, a bit of both. So it's I don't know if you follow rugby, Robbie. Robbie, do you remember Simon Gagan used to play for Ireland?
No, I don't even follow any sports.
Okay, I don't know if you've come across anyone with the surname Gagan. It has like too many vowels and not enough consonants.
Yeah.
But that's a long ass Gagan.
That's right. So it gets anglicized into McGaffick, like my good friend Seamus, and also Gaffigan. So Jim Gaffigan and anyone called McGaffick used to be Gagans in Ireland.
Huh.
So if you look up Gagan, they're mostly in the north, County Antrim, down Armagh.
Well, I would be Armagh, South Armagh direction. That's where I'm originally from. Yeah,
supposedly like around, I forget what the province was, but it was just outside of Dublin. There's at least the furthest back we could find that the family was involved in some sort of cow farming, but because of finances and other things, had to move north. That's where they settled up there.
What I find funny though,
here,
whenever you go into all that sort of stuff, is most people, if they're looking back, will follow the father's line because that's the name that everybody takes.
Right.
But if you're actually looking at genealogy, more DNA is transferred from the mother. So
right.
It's a different thing. If you were trying to track where exactly you came from, it's only where your name came from. It's not actually where your DNA came from. If you wanted to track that, you would go through the mother's line.
Yeah. Well, that would be via Scotland and some of Ireland, I think. So.
Well, I'm mainly Scottish.
It's a mess. You're nearly Scottish. That's what you said.
mainly, mainly Scottish. I would be what would be known as an Ulster Scot.
Oh, okay. So.
Are we going right back to the plantation now, Robbie?
Pardon?
Are we going right back to the plantation now?
No, we'll not go down that route. Okay.
Fair enough.
So the channel, what have you
was
any?
there,
I have to say, looking back at your stockpile of interviews, you have a lot of interviews and a lot of videos there. You have a few, as I mentioned, whenever you were interviewing me, Sean Carroll definitely would be. I have to say, from a physics point of view, somebody that a lot of respect for you is getting him onto the channel.
How's all John?
Yeah, I was watching his video series. So he's doing kind of during lockdown. I think a bunch of physicists are doing this. Lawrence Krauss, Brian Greene, Sean Carroll are all doing kind of physics lessons, free physics lessons kind of thing. Yeah, I was watching Sean Carroll's just an hour ago. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he mentioned about his hair. I was to get a haircut just before the lockdown.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I would say though, so I'm a subscriber to his podcast, which means he'll answer your questions in a kind of public and thoughtful way with kind of information and research. And you end up asking a few kind of contemporary political questions, and he's super woke. So yeah, Sam Harris fans won't have a big overlap with Sean Carroll fans, but I listen to them both, I have to say, and don't kind of agree with either, and they don't agree with each other, but maybe that's healthy.
No, well, it was definitely good to get on. Physics would be I would be a fan of physics. Momma, she did a wee bit of physics, yeah?
My undergrad was in astrophysics, so.
Nice.
Oh, superb.
Yeah, she used to teach young kids how to crash simulators.
That sounds like fun.
Well, it was for NASA. It was for NASA. She doesn't like saying it, but that's...
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's what my daughter's been trying to. They do an internship in the summers, just with actually in West Virginia, believe it or not, at a place in I think it's Fairmont, and she's been trying like hell to get on there. So she wants to get into mechanical engineering. So, but
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. I have
no. She loves math, like MathPig, so
Well, in saying that, man, I have no degrees.
Not me.
I have no degrees or fuck all or nothing except the degree of life, But
that's it. Hard knocks, brother. That's it.
Yourself, John, have you anything? Well, obviously you're trying to do the law thing, or is that just for fun?
No, that's just for fun. I've absolutely no legal qualifications whatsoever. I have to say, I'm almost the opposite to Amanda. I wouldn't be able to keep up with the math. When I did a computer science degree, and Queen's, Robbie, in the first semester, the computer science class, the math class, and the physics class are all together, and you do the same courses at the start. And actually, if you pass the first one, I think if you enroll in one, you can swap into the other or whatever. But yeah, I struggled with the math. I thought there was a big leap between our secondary school, I think that's high school in the States. There was a big leap in the math there and the math in university, and I have to say I struggled. So yes, I stuck with the computer science, but I regret it a lot. I don't often, I don't read fiction. I always read non-fiction, and I'll pick up a popular science book. So, I'd love to read Sean Carroll and Max Tegmark and what do you call it? The Italian guy that's great, the loop quantum gravity guy, Carlo Rovelli. Carlo Rovelli is a wonderful writer. I would never dream of picking up a computer science book and reading it. So all of the books that I read have to do with physics and cosmology. So I often regret I never did any of that. But in fairness, when I had the opportunity, I just wasn't up to it. I couldn't do it. I really struggled with the math.
Well, if I could jump in real quick, I'm sorry.
Go.
But we've been 30 minutes in and the suspense is killing me. Okay, John?
I was just about to ask that.
I'm on Clontarf now after my Guinness.
What is the good stuff?
So, What do you? Yeah, what's the good stuff, John?
I've just finished. That was a nice glass of paddy, which I kind of call that an everyday whiskey in the sense that it's bad because it's cheap. I feel guilty always because I normally don't drink whiskey every day. It's just that it's an ordinary whiskey and it's not essentially a treat. But I don't know about you folks. During this lockdown, I have been drinking whiskey almost every day.
Do you know what I thought was hilarious?
We're not allowed out. Once a week, you're only allowed to go to the shops once a week. You get stopped by the cops. If you don't have a full week's worth of shopping in the car, they'll ask, why are you just going to the shops for milk and eggs? You are only allowed to go once a week. So today was our once a week, and I treated myself to a 12-year-old.
Ah, nice.
Oh, I don't know if you can see that.
Red
I can
breast.
see it. Red breast. Yeah.
So Ricky Gervais tweeted recently that he said something like, fuck your toilet roll, here's what I've got. And he tweeted a picture of his drinks cabinet, which is much more impressive than mine. But he had a 15-year-old red breast. I'm too cheap for that. I've got the 12-year-old. But this is still the good stuff as far as I'm concerned.
It's not bad at all. Yeah, you remember whenever Carrier came through Pittsburgh, and we went to he went to Pittsburgh to sign some stuff, and I went up there and met him in a bar. And that's what we end up on was that red breast. That's fantastic, yeah. It's really good stuff.
But what I thought was funny here was during the COVID, as we were discussing when you were interviewing me, the off licenses were declared as an essential service. But Easter Sunday, off licenses, essential service.
Okay.
Must be open, must be able to buy alcohol. Easter Sunday, closed completely.
Yeah.
We'll close for God, but we won't close for an actual. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I'm complaining it was closed because I forgot to prepare. But it's silly that it was closed for that and not closed for COVID. It was actually a class.
I'll complain. I'll fucking complain about it. It's bullshit. These blue laws are shit. And I'll tell you something else. I don't want to say too much about the essential job that I do on here. But we have food banks that service people, right? All of the food banks were closed because of Good Friday. So that's only 4 days a week that these people were able to get food. You know what? Wow. Fuck you. If you really want to help people and you claim to, actually be a service to the people of need, then, your God or whatever is, fucking those people. Sorry, I'm still angry.
No, it's stupid as well, man, especially in Belfast.
I'm going through the process of my grief, those steps yet. So
I'm not sure if
go of that.
I'm not sure if it's changed or not now. Obviously, with the COVID, it isn't happening. But you used to have cruise ships that would come in on a Sunday to Belfast, and the shops would close an hour after the cruise ships arrived because, it's a holy day. And it's just a stupid law. And it's bad for business as well. You have all these people coming in and want to go shopping, and the only place they can go is probably to the pub or a restaurant because everywhere's closed.
Yeah, I mean, we have blue laws here. So, like, the liquor stores are all closed. But if you go to a shop where I live before, I think it's 11 o'clock, you can't buy a six-pack of beer.
In the morning, yes. So, it's 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, and, used to be Sundays, of course, was football weekends here. So it's a big deal. And I try to go to the shop as soon as I can because I want to get that chore over with, right? So I'm there at 10 o'clock, 10:30. I'm getting in line, man. And I've got freaking groceries everywhere in my buggy, but I also have a six-pack of beer. And they told me, well, we can't finish checking you out because you have the six-pack of beer. And they wanted me to get out of line. I said, no. I was like, you got to either ring that up or move me out of line. They literally shut that line down and maybe wait and then pushed everybody else over until 11 and then ring me out. That's fucking stupid. Why? Because at 11 o'clock. Yeah, because 11 o'clock the magic spells are going to lift. God's not going to be offended. I'm glad you waited there, Seamus, until 11. I couldn't handle you drinking that before then. Fuck off.
The worst bit about it is just opening up the licensing laws hurts nobody because even the people who are religiously committed to temperance on the Sunday, that's fine. Go home and don't drink anything on the Sunday.
The
Yeah.
blue laws in Connecticut are actually worse than the ones here. I don't know.
Really?
I think it might just be because it's older, maybe. But yeah, blue laws in Connecticut are no liquor at all on Sundays, and I
Wow.
think it's 10 o'clock at night. Is the cutoff? It's 10 or 8. It's something ridiculous like that. And I know for a fact that they're open on Sundays here. That you can buy liquor here. I don't know what time the cutoff is. Yeah, it's you would think that in the South where all the churches are, it would be worse.
Yeah,
but
but
it's
doesn't it
not.
say more about them than us? You know what I mean? I mean, these
Mhm.
laws. Basically, what you're saying is, I can't handle the temptation until 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, then I can get by. You know, but 10 o'clock, oh, I need that beer. Please put a law in place so I can't have it. You know, what the fuck, guys? It makes no goddamn sense.
No, generally doesn't. We're 10 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, but on a Sunday it's 10. It closes an hour early on a Sunday.
Oh,
Like 1 hour makes all the difference because it's a holy day.
it's
That's
insane.
ridiculous. And you notice that too at here, like I said, there's so many fucking churches in my town. It's ridiculous. And I try not to be out and about on a Sunday. But if I am, as soon as church lets out, they're all at the grocery store just stocking up on
Oh, yeah.
liquor for the rest of the day.
Yep.
It's like they, oh, we got through church. Now let's get fucking drunk. So
If Sammy was awake, I think remember Sammy Jenkins, he's Australian, he's also ex-Jehovah Witness, and there was a video floating around Twitter or whatever he showed me one time, and it was one of the main big guys, in Jehovah Witness in their organization, and on a Sunday morning he was buying like 6 bottles of $80 whatever the fuck it was whiskey and stuff, where everybody else is at church. He's got a trolley full of just booze, and it's just, yep, that's just what I'm doing. Complete contradiction in terms.
That's the best time of the week to go shopping at.
Yeah.
Is while everybody's at church. The thing is though that we have so many different denominations in our town. So one is at 8 and one is at 9, and it just it's hard to keep up with. So I find the one that's the most packed and go and do it then. So
How long were you in Boston? I mean, how old were you when you left Boston?
I don't know. I live in Connecticut. My family's
Oh,
from
I'm sorry.
Boston. No, it's okay.
Well, how long were you there? Till about what age?
I born and raised there. I left, when I was 18 to go to school.
Okay.
But moved back again. I spent my whole 20s there too.
Was that, a big city that you lived in?
No, it's a tiny little
okay.
farm town. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I'm just curious because, last night I broke a law that's been a sin of mine. Me and my daughter's been watching all these documentaries on different things about, and the mob keeps coming into it. She's seen The Godfather and loved it, but she'd never seen Goodfellas. So we finally watched it the other night. But one of the stories in there is whenever they do not the Lufthansa heist, but the other Air France. And they're like, well, let's do it on a Sunday, and nobody will see it until Tuesday because Monday's a Jewish holiday, everything's closed. I just didn't know if that was still the case in bigger cities. If like the Jewish holidays are kind of, sacred there where they close some of the facilities. I just didn't know if that was still a thing. I was just curious.
I don't.
Didn't know if you knew.
know
Sorry.
there was a bit of a Jewish community in Hartford. There was, but not in the smaller towns. In fact, I only knew of a few Jewish families in my town. So
yeah, I'm in BFE when it comes to all that stuff. I remember John asked me, he was like, well, what about the Jewish people in your neighborhood? I'm like, oh, not really many, and it's stereotypical, and I know this is horrible to say. The only ones I know are Jews or lawyers. And and I don't mean to say it that way, but I mean that's the truth.
No, this is where we kick him, because he makes racist statements.
That's it, yeah. So, but I mean, there's not a big community of Jewish people here, so
talking about what people,
I'm just not, just assimilated to all that. So I just find it interesting. That's all. So.
Totally taking advantage of the having another Ireland man here. John,
Nice.
you grew up in Belfast, was it? You told me.
Yes, West Belfast. I don't know if you know Andersonstown, the top of the Falls Road, but I'm in County Monaghan now.
for explanation of people who don't automatically know the difference between Falls and West Belfast and the other side. Do you
You want me to explain that?
go on ahead. You go for it. Yeah, you go for it.
Okay, so for people who are used to or familiar with Belfast only from the news when bad things happen, I grew up in a Roman Catholic family on that side of the Peace Wall. So I think the largest Catholic population in Belfast would be in the west of the city and most closely associated with the Falls Road. So if you drive up the Falls Road, you come to Andersonstown. That's where I grew up. Although my wife's from Ardoyne, which is in North Belfast, so I have to drive across Lanark Way and Twaddell Avenue to get to where my then girlfriend, now wife, lived. So I had to cross the peace line a few times.
When I stayed in Belfast, I stayed in the Malone Road. I was very lucky.
Oh.
I didn't even stay in the student halls. I rented a place. It was like a student hall just outside the student halls, but it was Malone Road, man. It was, yeah, we were in luxury. What
Robbie's saying is he stayed in the Hamptons. He wasn't associating with the hoi polloi like me.
Oh. Well, I say, man, I grew up in Newry, and Newry is pretty much an entire city like the Falls Road.
Yeah, is it? Do you think?
Well, considering that there's a park named after an IRA bomber, it says you drive into the town, there's green, white and orange, or green, white and gold, whatever you want to call it. There's Out the Brits still on the walls. They have dedications to... Oh, they still have stuff up for the hunger strikers, man. It's, yeah.
Well, I have to say, it's one of my big frustrations living down here that... having grown up in the north, so when you talk to people from the south, they want to glorify. If you've seen the movie Michael Collins or that kind of history of Ireland from the start of the 20th century, a large percentage of the population of the politicians in the south of Ireland come from families who were heavily involved in the whole narrative around Michael Collins and Devereux and rebellion against the British.
Great movie.
And they glorify that every year, man. They walk off the Bell and make great speeches about how the IRA is wonderful.
The Easter Rising is absolutely massive in Newry.
Yeah, well, it is down here too, but then somehow they decide that... there's kind of a cutoff, like in 1950 or something, and the whole world's turned on its head, and what was great then is now evil now, and I don't know, I think you have to pick a side. I mean,
well, I've no problem with it, but when you see 20 masked men walking up through the town celebrating that sort of things, you know, in army outfits...
Oh, well, firstly, anyone who engages in that kind of balaclava militaristic stuff nowadays is a proper dick, and you must agree, Robbie. It's a very small number nowadays. I mean,
it is. Unfortunately, they're very loud, but it is a small number.
Small but loud.
Yeah.
But I mean, to my mind, like Michael Collins sent men out to, you know, shoot British soldiers in their bed when they were sitting there beside their wife, and horrible things like that happened in the north too.
Don't get me wrong, man, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but someone I lived very close to, their grandfather was in the B Specials and they kept his jacket. I have worn a B Specials jacket, like.
There you go.
You know, and they are not the nicest people in the world.
Well, look,
what's that jacket? Just for those that don't understand.
It just was like a really heavy, very dark, sort of like a waxy jacket that you could probably lie in the rain.
For which side, I guess the question I'm asking.
Oh, no, the B Specials was like, they went out, and if they had the inclination that you were in the IRA, they'd just kick your doors down, go in and shoot you. No questions asked, that was it.
I got you. All right.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, so this is kind of a reserve, an extra extension of the police force of the state, to add numbers and manpower, but then the other side would see it as a kind of a paramilitary force. I don't know. I'm trying to be fair here.
Yeah,
Help me out,
it's like
Robbie.
the black ops for the CIA. Could we go that way? But
Uh-huh.
it's not as bad as that.
Yeah.
The beef
So-
house would be like the black
Well,
ops.
look, this to my mind is just, this discussion is a perfect example of the whole thing is just super fucking complicated. What annoys me is like Michael Collins did the same awful, evil things that are rightly condemned when IRA men in the North did them 20, 30 years ago. But I mean, you're saying you walk around Uri and you find graffiti about IRA men or whatever.
No, there's a park
the truth
actually.
is-
There's a park. The central park's
But,
named after
but
him.
Robbie, there's not a single town in this state that doesn't have a main street
Oh, yeah.
named after an IRA man. So, like, there's plenty of hypocrisy down here in my mind. So yeah, it always irks me when the politicians down here want to do the, wrap the green flag around me, and I'm this super jingoistic nationalist guy, but then the guys in the north are evil and we're the greatest in the world or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it all depends where everybody comes from and what their point of view is, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
And, it all
but,
boils down to this: do you or do you not like Stephen Nolan? I'll be desperately honest, man. Right? I cancelled my TV license a year and a half ago, and the only thing I miss is the fucking Nolan show. That's it.
Well, the equivalent down here is Joe Duffy.
Oh,
and,
goodness, Joe
I have
Duffy.
to say, I don't listen to either.
Oh, I know you should listen to. You should give Stephen Nolan a wee listen to at 10 o'clock in the morning on
But the fucking headbangers that phone in.
I know that's why, man. It's entertainment.
What do you mean by headbangers? I think it means something different.
What's a good synonym for headbangers?
No, go for
Robbie?
it. No, this is all on you, John. This is all on you.
Just like literal crazy people. So I would know people like I jokingly referred to the plantation of Ulster earlier. So Robbie says he's Scottish.
Ulster Scott.
Ulster Scott.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that, Robbie, the plantation? How many centuries ago was that? I
I'm
can't
not
even
too
remember.
sure on the exact date, man, but I know that my personal family ship is from 7 generations ago. So whatever that works out as.
Several centuries ago, the British decided that it would be a good idea
Breed
to
them out.
give lots of Irish land to Scottish people.
Yep.
And all of these Scottish Presbyterians came over and took all the land that was previously owned by Irish Catholics, and problems ensued. Let's put it that way. But,
Seriously?
So there's a population now, literally centuries later, who have this Scottish heritage that they're rightly proud of, and they were born and raised in Ireland, and that's perfectly fine. But like, I know people, if you ask them how to deal with the problems in Ireland now, and they would just say something like, well, you just round up all the Protestants and put them on a boat and send them back to where they came from over in Scotland, and then it'll all be fine.
I have actually had that said to me within this last 2 weeks. Honestly, within this last 2 weeks, why doesn't everybody who wants to remain part of the UK just move to England and the government funds them? And it was like, seriously?
Like these insane the people who say these insane things are the ones that they put on the radio.
Pardon?
But it's people who have these crazy ideas. They're the ones who are going to get on the radio.
Yeah, no, it's funny that way, isn't it?
Mm.
I have a question, John. Actually, you know what Fox News is?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You guys have an equivalent there? In
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I have a kind of cursory or a very thin understanding of American media as compared to you folks, obviously. But what we see is MSNBC's on the left, and maybe CNN tries to be in the center, and Fox News is on the right.
Don't forget about the Young Turks. The Young Turks with their independent media.
Oh yeah, indeed. So in Ireland, we don't have too many independent TV channels. We have a national broadcaster called RTE, which is the equivalent of the British BBC, and they make Herculean efforts to be centrist, and they very often get it wrong, and then they get a lot of criticism, and they try to change. So they're very far from perfect, but they're state funded essentially, like the BBC, through a tax. And they do their best to be centrist. And I'm sure if you asked Robbie to think of some criticisms of the BBC, he might be able to come up with one or two.
In all honesty, the only thing I'm thinking about when we're talking about TV is, do you pronounce it as TG Cahir or is it Tanag?
Oh, TG Cahir.
It is. I'm saying that right, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from that, we have a few independent news channels, but what we don't have is kind of full-time news. We don't have any news channels, none, zero. We have
Sky News doesn't run 24/7.
Yeah, it does, but that's UK news. There's no Sky News Ireland.
I didn't know that. Apologies.
Yeah, so we don't have any of that. We have most of the channels will do a main evening news show at 6 o'clock or 9 or 10 o'clock. But
does Murdoch own Sky?
Say it again.
Does Murdoch own Sky?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
of course he does.
Yeah.
Although it's it has the same kind of sharp business practices that you might associate with Murdoch, but Sky News wouldn't be as right wing as Fox News. I think that's fair to say, Robbie.
Yeah,
is it?
in saying that, man, I have no TV subscription whatsoever. I wiped that all out.
Cord cutter.
No.
I like to follow the sports over there. That's why.
Well, I used to do all that, and I used to pay for it and everything, but I spend most of my time watching stuff on YouTube now, which is, not covered under the rights of the TV license. So I cancelled it, turned every single unit in my TV unit around so he could see the back of it, and unplugged it. And the moment he knocked the door, which was about 3 weeks later, I invited him in. I was like, hold on a wee second till I switch off my YouTube. And paused it on my phone and then let him have a look, and he just wrote me off there and then. That was it. So then never come to the door again.
Okay.
But I don't watch TV. I would watch streaming shows, but very, very rarely would I watch any TV shows. Mama's always shouting at me for not watching fucking this or not seeing that or haven't seen Breaking Bad, don't watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, stuff like Game of Thrones and baking bread. Yeah.
Breaking Bread. That's always a good one. Yeah. That's the Christian version of Breaking Bad, yeah. So
I like
old
reruns.
That's where Jesus and his buddies make the special wine that turns to like the blue blood, and they hand it out to all their crips. Yeah, it's good stuff. So,
have you any plans for the channel? One other question before we talk about the future. Your worst interview ever. Who was the worst? Oh, he knows. Seamus knows straight away.
I know too.
Well, I know there's two now because you reminded me after.
Well, you're allowed two because there's two of you, so you can have two.
Okay. Fuck.
Well, I'll tell you what, Seamus, I'll get you off the hook.
Okay, thanks. Because we did a live show for the first time the other day.
If you want to use initials so you don't get blamed and everybody...
No. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, there you go.
We don't give a shit. We're not bashful, neither one of us. So. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
So there was one interview where I had a problem with my internet connection, and it kind of dropped out after 10 minutes, and Seamus had to soldier on his own for the full hour, which was with Dr. Anthony Pinn, or Professor Anthony Pinn. And
Focus Day, Anthony Pinn. Yeah.
I watched it back later, and we'd actually covered some of the same issues, which is atheism in the African American community. So we talked about that with isn't it Christopher Cameron, Nathan Alexander,
Mendoza Thomas.
Mendoza Thomas, and most recently Daniel Swan, Professor Daniel Swan.
Fucking fantastic.
Wonderful interview.
Yeah, you need to give me a list of all the really smart people you've talked to. Just send them.
We will do that. We'll do that.
Top of the list is Danny Swan. Absolutely fantastic. He was really clever and insightful. So he's written he's done some kind of qualitative and quantitative research about atheism among African Americans, and I think I'm right, and I can't remember which way around it is. No, I can. His father's African American and his mother's Jewish, isn't that right?
Yeah. But you can't pigeonhole the guy. That's what's
exactly.
Great. I mean, you could you could bring him on about anything we just talked about, and he would have an opinion.
Yeah.
He'd be articulate about it. I mean, he would be insightful about it, and he's just a genuinely fucking fantastic guy. Just a good guy.
Yes.
Can't say enough good things about it.
And he related the academic stuff to kind of contemporary politics and contemporary stories really well. So he was explaining a lot of ideas about intersectionalism, and I have to say this is kind of a new word to me, and I was trying to understand the details, and he was really, really good on it, I have to say. But then I thought, in comparison, Anthony Pinn, who I think is a much higher profile, but I thought he was kind of quite hectoring and aloof, and I just didn't enjoy that. So I watched it back, and I have to say I felt sorry for Seamus, because Seamus was unfailingly polite throughout, and I didn't think Anthony Pinn was, but that's my opinion. So there you go. I got you off the hook, Seamus.
Lucky enough for you, John, you weren't producing. That happened to me when I was doing an interview with Jim Hall. I was using one of these brand new BT Wi-Fi discs, and I was getting 16 up, man. 16 megabyte up is fucking load, so I was grand, happy days. And then it just took a shit attack in the middle of an interview. And I'm running in the drawers, looking for the fucking long lead. You get the DSL. What the fuck? Running it up the hall, opening all the doors and stuff. But, at least you weren't producing.
I have a question. Do you guys have like a dream interview? Somebody that you haven't yet interviewed and but really, really want to?
Ricky Gervais. Sam Harris would be great too, but Ricky Gervais would be fun. I just think it'd be a good time.
I like Julia Sweeney.
Julia Sweeney.
And Sarah Silverman makes me laugh. Who else? I tell you who I don't like is
that's a longer list.
Brand. I always get the guy his first name wrong. Is it Stuart Brand? No, it's not. Russell Brand? Which is the one actor?
Russell Brand is the stupid.
Brian Cox's buddy. Yeah.
Robbie is not a fan either. So
the worst interview I would say, which would also be my fault, I guess, would be Alyssa McCool. Is that her right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I'm probably butchered her first name anyways.
That was tough going.
Yeah, so she went on like tangents when we talked to her. Just unending pointless tangents, as I'll point out. This was in the midst of the Brett Kavanaugh hearing. That was all happening. And she was trying to... like I said, she would just start on one thing and go into like weird segues, and suddenly she was like intersectionality, and
is this a subtle dig at me? No, all my tangents, no.
no. So different, trust me. So, but she was like going into this idea of, well, the Brett Kavanaugh thing is a clear depiction of what's wrong with race in America right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, that's all a racial issue, that wouldn't happen, to a black man. That's a privileged white man there. And I'm like, Bill Cosby, Clarence Thomas, this has nothing to do with race. This has a lot to do with other things. And now, privilege, sure, maybe, but there's a race in this. And we got into this big debate, and it was pretty clear.
Just to qualify that, Seamus, it's not like it's not like the context was we were defending Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh, no. Not at all. Not at all. Thanks. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. And I don't even think you need even... Actually, my argument always was with that. They didn't even need to hit the Me Too stuff with him. He's a piece of shit based on his policies on his record. Hello. But anyways, so...
Even his demeanor during the hearing was disqualifying, I thought. But anyway.
Sorry, my dog's
crying over fucking...
Beer.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyways, this was like a really, kind of got a little bit onerous and a little bit cantankerous between all of us, but it wasn't like we were being mean to her. We were just like, you're wrong. And she started boo-hooing, and then well, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And we're like, that's fine. Maybe we just go on with the interview and we'll cut this bit out, because that's the other thing. We've always tried to do, because most of our shows, except for the other day, are always recorded ahead of time. So, and we don't do the gotcha shit, but sometimes people say things that they don't want. We click it out, blah, blah, blah. We clicked this out like she wanted. Well, we got some blowback because we interviewed David Silverman on the show. And we actually had a debate with Felicia Antwistle. Is that her name, John? Am I getting it right?
I think that's right, yes.
Yeah. So we were invited for a debate with her on the Right to Reason podcast, which is run by Robert Stanley. Good stuff. Free plug to you today, Rob. You're welcome. Well, we're on there, and the aftermath of that, which is a train wreck, by the way. Listen to Rob, don't listen to that episode, just because it's bad. Not because of, well, it just is. But then on her Facebook page, she boo-hooed that she was attacked by, 2 incels and all this shit, 4chan guys, which I don't even know what the fuck 4chan was before that, because it's on the idiot I am. Yeah. And then Melissa McCool chimed in with, yes, and they were so horrible to me, listen to this. And she put the segment on Facebook that she made us cut out as trying to play the victim. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, really?
That's dirty.
Well, as I said to you at the time, I do this. This is the way my format is. 99.9% of my stuff is live. The only edited stuff I do is generally a promo video if I've got a big guest coming on, or if I'm sitting bored and nothing to do. I've got one of Dale making a fool out of himself. We all know Scottish Dale, the flat earther, but I have nothing to hide. I said everything as it is, and I told you the moment that the video ended, just put whatever...
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. When is it coming out?
That's
if you don't mind me asking.
Oh, yeah. I could look here and maybe I can. Give me a second here.
John, have you any?
I can tell you who's in the can and which ones are coming. So the next one to be published will be Chris Mallard, the Daily Atheist. That's next. After that will be Dr. Robert M. Price. On his new book Horrors and Heresies, and after that the tonic wine connoisseur MathPig will be going live.
Yeah, you doing Buckfest tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Just broke a half of it. It's the only, in all honesty, it's the only thing I generally drink, man. I don't like beer whatsoever. Whiskey makes me fight. Whiskey makes me very, very fighty. Vodka makes me an insane man that wakes up with
Vodka? Is that what you said?
Yeah, blackouts. Yeah. Vodka gives me blackouts. Yeah. So, I stick with the Buckfast. I can drink it all night, and the only thing that happens is you need to eat an onion sandwich because your taste is gone.
Well, is it true for everybody that, the first thing you get drunk on, really fucking, nightmarish, puking, dry heaves, drunk, is one of those things you'll never revisit? For me, it was tequila.
Oh, no.
I drank. Is that...
Growing up over here, it was what we called 3 liters of ding. as in three.
Ding. What the hell is ding?
Yeah, no.
Is that like Mad Dog or
John
something?
knows what it is. No, you're talking.
Oh, yeah, apparently John's been on ding before.
John's had the 3 litres of Old English cider. He has. He's had the 3 litres of the Old English cider in a plastic bottle. You used to be able to.
Okay.
3 litres of cider when we were
Cider.
growing up was what?
Cider,
£4.20, £3.80.
Those 3-liter plastic containers used to be called barrack busters when I was young.
Oh.
Nice.
We used to get 3 litres of Ding, 24 Miller, and a bottle of Buckfast each between 3 of us, and just get absolutely fucking shit faced. And that was, or was it Michelob? Yeah, we went through a phase of where we liked Michelob.
Michelob.
But Southern
Did
Comfort.
you say tequila was yours as well there, Mama? Was that right?
Yeah, well, tequila is one of the few like liquors that I can actually drink straight. I'm a big, I don't know, I just don't like the taste of alcohol. I don't drink very often, but for some reason tequila I'm good with, as long as it's not something super cheap. But I get fucking mouthy on tequila though. Super mouthy.
To this day, if somebody hands me a thing of tequila, even to pass it on, if I smell it, I'm like, oh, my belly starts turning. You know what I mean? I just can't do that. So.
My first the first time I ever drank at all, let alone got really drunk, was Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey. And what it was is my parents, growing up, they weren't big drinkers, so they just had like a few bottles of hard liquor that had been around. This was when I was 15. Probably my whole life, those bottles had been sitting there, and I decided to drink one night. It had been a really fucked up, rough week, so. And I had no idea what it was going to taste like, so I took one sip. I was like, "Oh my god!" So I ended up mixing it in with some Pepsi, I think, and yeah, I got really, really, really fucking drunk. I just remember getting up. First of all, 2-day hangover, and I remember waking up the next morning, and there were kissy marks on my fish tank. Like I put lipstick on and kissed my fish tank.
That's funny you brought up the fish tank one. I was at my brother's house whenever I got he had just moved out, and it's been like a couple months after he moved out. I was 13, 14 maybe, so I was very young, and it was kind of like, mad scientist time. What should we do? Let's do an experiment. Let's get the brother drunk, you know. But the thing is, they kept on feeding me beer, and they made margaritas for themselves. Well, whenever we were looking, I just took the punch bowl and started drinking it.
Nice.
Oh man,
John,
and I would just anything that was inside I drank, and then when I woke up the next morning, you're talking about fish bowls. They had a giant aquarium in their apartment, and I remember seeing like the fish were moving like in slow motion. Still, I still have that picture in my head of just like things are not good, man.
John will probably know of Cranfield. Do you know of Cranfield, John?
I know the name, but I have to tell you my tequila story
Go,
first.
go.
Talking about tequila. Do you know the Bonnetti, Robbie? It's maybe it's not that called that anymore. That was the bar in the Queen's Students' Union.
The Bun and Tea man, yeah, $5 for a pint of pizza.
That's the one. That's the one. So I was down there one night, and my buddy was drinking tequilas. What's the order? It's is it salt, tequila, lemon, or something like that? I can't remember what the order is, but presumably nobody does this like really in New Mexico or Texas or whatever. But you put salt in the back of your hand, isn't that it? Or you salt, tequila, anyway.
Then lemon, yeah.
So this is what my buddy was doing, and on he was going salt, tequila, lemon, and of course after a few hours he started taking a step back from the bar, and he was holding onto the bar pretty solid and breathing heavily, and his head was down, and he was struggling a bit, and he ordered one more, and he did the salt, tequila, lemon, and then he stood back and let rip and puked everywhere. And of course, everyone stands back, and there's a big circle, and he's down on his knees, and he's heaving up everywhere. And he stood up and he went, "Fucking lemons."
So my best friend and I, growing up, we weren't big beer drinkers. We were usually vodka drinkers, called Big B actually, and we were with our boyfriends our boyfriends were best friends with each other. So, it was always the four of us. They were always drinking beer. They wanted to play beer pong, but we, didn't want to drink with beer, so we played beer pong with screwdrivers.
Oh, good grief.
My favorite picture of me of all time is me falling on a wall. I'm just holding up like the corner of the wall, just, like holding on for dear life because the whole world was spinning. It's hilarious. And I was like maybe 16 at the time, so. Yeah.
I never played beer pong, but some friends of mine did in college. And if they knew I was coming, they would get like a 4-pack or an 8-pack of the bottled Guinness Draught because it's got the ball that you could use for it. And they knew I'd come, and I would just sit there and drink them and like, here you go. And they'd cut out the ball so they have another ball to play with. So, because you get a bunch of college guys, those balls disappear pretty quick. So.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I have so many mad stories. Mad stories. That's my probably my worst time ever drunk as a young age was. Oh, we lost him.
He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back. Was Quattro. Do you know of Quattro? The orange liqueur.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the only.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, we were in Cranfield, and it was the only thing that we could rob from the liquor cabinet because it was the only thing that they wouldn't notice was missing. And
Is it like kind of like thick too?
It's awful, man. Yes, it's.
Yeah, it like pours slow.
Oh.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember is being. Two of us drank a liter of it, and I remember being over a fence in a field, just vomiting my feet, not even touching the ground, just my belly on it. Just, disastrous.
The only reason I know is I when I used to work when I was a cop, we had to go to a seminar out in Dearborn, Michigan, which is also heavily Islamic Muslim, which was interesting. I'll come back to that in a second if we have time.
Do I have to kick you again? Right, we've got Islam and we've got Jews tonight.
Yeah. So oh geez. Anyway, so the hotel we stayed in had a wonderful bar. I mean, it was beautiful, and it was also well stocked. And I used to go there for lunch when I could for the week I was there. And I was sitting at the bar, and somebody next to me got some sort of, it was a coffee drink, and they had like some sort of whipped cream on top, and then they topped it with that orange thing, so it looked thick. I don't know if it was, because I remember that name, and they poured it from a separate cup, so I don't know if they mix it with something. That's why I'm asking if
it's usually a cocktail
they put it with something
mixer.
that made it thicker, but they kind of like poured it around the foam.
Yeah, you don't.
I honestly remember it smelling, so that's like the other thing too. I was like, what are you drinking?
I had a friend.
So,
we went on holiday one time to Gran Canaria, and no, it was Ayia Napa. Is it Ayia Napa? Aye, and I had a friend who can even drink more than me, and he's 3 years younger than me, and we snuck him into the bars, and the record in the bar for Long Island iced teas was 6, and he was determined to smash it, and I think he got to it. I think it was 8. And then he pushed to 9 and passed out at the bar, and they had to use one of the guns.
He's dead now, right?
Pardon?
I said I was going to say he's dead now, right?
No, he's not dead now. But he passed out at the bar, and they had to soak him with the gun, the water gun, to wake him up. And we've just dragged him outside and left him at the table. And he eventually found his way home with an entire, from outside, like a tourist place. Them signs that has all the leaflets on it. He lifted that and took that home with him for whatever reason. Casey, he was like, I don't know, I think I was planning where we wanted to go tomorrow. I couldn't decide. So, I took the whole thing home.
So,
right, look, what we'll do is we'll bounce off, and hopefully, John will come back, and we'll have the after party. If not, we'll be back soon anyway. So,
okay.
Everybody, thank you very much for coming. Seamus. Seamus, I really appreciate you coming in, and thank you very much for interviewing me, man, and making.
Oh, it was a great time, man. That's the first of many. You got to come back on more. It was a good time. Yeah. Well, we're open hangouts all the time. After party, you're always welcome, man. I'll add you to the Twitter group, and all the links be in it. And yeah, everybody, thanks very much for coming. If it wasn't for the live chat, nobody would be watching. So I appreciate you all coming. And if I can get my cordless mouse to work. Oink and Momma, thank you very much for co-hosting tonight. Shout out to John. Thank you. It was
very
nice
much.
meeting you.
You too.
So, oink and out, everybody. Thank you
Oink,
very
oink.
much. Bye bye.
Slàinte.